anybody out there, sometimes maybe you think you're too old, you're too out of shape, or you're not smart enough, or you don't have the athletic ability, you're not talented enough to do this, to go to school, to get a degree, to become a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, become a black belt in RMA, to get a certain position, leadership position, or a job position. This is a great quote from Zig Ziglar, and it's I think it's motivational, I think, to anybody. He says, "You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great." So realize that old martial arts proverb says the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So start. I'll tell you one thing, you're always going to be better off if you start doing something now, studying a certain way, exercising a certain way. You're going to be better off a year from now if you do it, if you start now, than a year from now if you don't start now, and if you don't start. Hey everyone, welcome to the Core Combatives podcast, an RMA experience. I'm with you today with my mentor and Professor Luigi Mondelli in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. We got a great podcast for you guys this week. And we're going to start off today right off the bat with our straight to the point. And I'm going to turn it over to Professor Luigi with his straight to the point this week. And then I'll be going next.
So my straight to the point this week will be very short. And this is something that I recorded before in my YouTube channel. I have a longer video about it, about the protector persona. So every day we should ask ourselves where we could be failing when it comes to the building process of our protector persona. A good exercise is to have a plan. So from time to time, you can run your checklist to find what areas in your life you should improve. Being a well-rounded individual helps you stabilize yourself and the people around you. Body, soul, and mind, or body, mind, and soul, balance and knowledge in constant evolution. So my message is take care of your spiritual side, right? If you have a religion, make sure that you are in contact with God. I'm a Christian, so that's my homework every day. I try to stay in shape, and I try to do things that will help my mind be clear, less anxiety, less negative feelings. And so this way I can try to become a better version of myself, and of course help my family, help my wife, and the people around me. That's my simple one.
Awesome. Love it. So yeah, this week for my straight to the point, something that I'd written a little bit on Facebook, but I'm actually going to expand on it a little bit. And it's called a right finder or fault finder. Now we know, obviously, as coaches and trainers, if you're a parent, a husband, if you're a boss of a business, obviously things have to be corrected at times. You may be corrected by your spouse might be corrected by you. You may have to correct your children. You may have to correct yourself. You may have to correct people that work for you. But there's a right way and a wrong way to do it too. And what I want to talk about this week is just being a right finder versus a fault finder. This is something that was kind of influenced by reading some things from Ken Blanchard, who's a PhD, well-known author, leadership author, wrote the 1 Minute Manager, really good book. I recommend it for anybody that has a business. But instead of going around constantly finding fault with yourself, finding fault with kids, with your spouse, with your family, with your friends, with your coworkers, with your church family, so on and so forth. Try to go around for a little while and find things right about them, right about yourself, right? Look, I'm a constant self-analyzer. I'm always thinking what's good, what's bad, what's missing with everything I do. I'm always like, I feel strong here, but I always can get stronger, and I got to maintain that. But I feel a little weaker here. I need to work on this. And this needs a lot of work. This is missing. So we always ask what's good, what's bad, what's missing. When I look at myself, I can say what's good, what's bad, what's missing. Constantly trying to improve and grow myself. But sometimes in the process of self-correction or self-development, we're so critical of ourselves that we really don't find that what's good part. So what I'm saying about being a right finder versus a fault finder is, even with your students, especially young kids, when you praise them, you kind of correct, you kind of like, instead of just constantly, you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong, don't do that, don't grab like that. You kind of, hey, great job with this, great job with this. Just bend the knee a little more, but I love how you're doing this, love how you're doing this. Almost that sandwich where you kind of put a little bit of positive correction, a little bit of positive, praise, a little bit of correction, a little bit of praise. That goes a long way. And they don't put up that fight. We got to talk about fight or flight. They're going to put that fight tendency is going to kind of go right up. As soon as you attack somebody, you critique them, you put them down there, their defenses go up against you, and they're not even hearing what you're saying in the first place. So it's a very important thing to do. Not just to say stuff because that's not true, but to literally look for something that actually is good about the person. So if it's your spouse, instead of the 10 things, you didn't do this, you didn't put that away, you didn't clean this right. Think of something good. Go around, because that goes a long way in building up people and growing people. So encouragement and appreciation is a powerful way to bless and transform people. If you're not an encourager, or if you don't show appreciation, here's 2 suggestions I have. Number 1, try it. And number 2, if you're not sure you should try it, consider this. How much you appreciate being appreciated. When someone tells you how much they appreciate you, how much do you appreciate that? And number 2, how much are you encouraged when people encourage you, right? Someone say, man, you're such a great coach. I appreciate all you do for the team, how hard you work, all the time you spent doing this, developing this program. Yeah, you may not need that. It's not, you might say, well, a weak person needs it. No, it's not that you need it, but it's a blessing to your heart, to your soul, to your spirit, to your mind. Zig Ziglar, I remember back at this time, there probably was like 6 billion people on the planet. Now there's obviously like 9 something where, but he said, he goes every night, millions of people go to bed starving for food. He says, but every single day, billions and billions of people go to bed starving for a little bit of appreciation. And I thought that was such a powerful point. So learn to appreciate people, learn to encourage people. Remember we talked about with courage, if I want to have courage in a situation, the way that I stop myself from being courageous is to discourage myself. And the way that I can prevent myself from being, make myself to be more courageous is to encourage myself. That's why it's so important to encourage yourself, and encourage others. You're putting courage into them. You're like literally putting courage into that person. So making them believe in themselves. So again, you still need to correct, but you're probably going to find that most people have a tendency to go around and fault find more than they right find. I'm going to give you 2 quick quotes regarding this, and then we'll move on to the next stage. These are both from Ken Blanchard. One, he says, I believe the key to developing employees and building a great organization is to wander around and catch people doing things right. This is a powerful management concept that it isn't used as often as it should be. So that's the first one. This guy's very, very, very well known, very successful, great leadership, PhD, brilliant guy. And the other one by Ken Blanchard is take a moment and catch someone doing things right. You'll be surprised at the difference it makes. So that's my little thing of the week. Straight to the point of the week is just to be a right finder, not just a fault finder.
I love it. And I understand, because nowadays a lot of people, because they go too far to the very ends. Some people try to be, especially when it comes to martial arts schools and being martial arts instructors, I've seen people being too harsh, always with that tyrannical type of mindset as far as a coach, and then all they do is yell and point the shortcomings of students. And there's some other people that try to be the ultra pleasers, so they are flattering and they are not honest. When it's just like they will let people have this positive feedback. Positive as increasing it could
Bad
be
habit
even a bad technique, just because they said good job when it wasn't a good job.
No.
So instead of discouraging, like you said, I understand, we find what piece of maybe the technique they're doing well, or something to, hey, you're doing.
Could be that they're trying hard. It could be they're just trying really hard. Hey, wow, you're really putting so much. I love all the effort, the how much you're trying your best to do this. But then you say just a couple little things here that'll take this to the next level, and that'll fine tune this for you. So and it's not even just, I don't even think it's just the fact that we're praising them. Sometimes it's just even the tone or the attitude behind it. Stop, you're doing that wrong. What's wrong with you? We don't, it's that same mentality, like how what does the Bible say? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you, So if we kind of remember that, like, how would you want someone to speak to you when they're correcting you? You don't mind. I'm very open. I love correction. I love being because if you correct me, you're making me better.
Yeah, the
So if I'm doing a
feedback.
jujitsu move and you show me the better way to do it, I'm like, yes, this is awesome. I'm going to be better because Professor Luigi knows what he's talking about and he's making me better. But it would be different if you came up and said, what is wrong with you? You look like an idiot. Everybody else is doing it right off the bat. That defense goes up. And you're like, even if what he's going to say right now is right, it's not going to, and you would never do that. Obviously, you're as a gentleman, it's possible. You know what I'm saying? If someone's like that, and there are instructors that have that sort of mentality,
Interesting. I love how this all connect, but just to finish this segment, last year in our jiu-jitsu camp, we had the psychology in education applied to martial arts instruction. So it's a recycle camp for instructors and teachers. And actually, what we're trying to do is make our help our instructors become educators. So it's more than just being technique demonstrators of techniques. Mm-hmm. And we talk about how, especially at early age, and you mentioned that with the kids too, having a bad teacher that discouraged us by shaming, by being not being that's supportive, not finding the good areas, how a bad teacher can impact our learning process throughout our lives. So how many people, like, they end up getting some people, I don't like to study, I don't like school, but a lot of times it's not because the school, is not because they don't want to learn more stuff. It's just because they had such a bad experience at very, very early age. So I love that. So we can definitely have a whole podcast about it, because I'm trying to be a better coach as I go, as I develop myself. And that's why I try to bring this stuff up to the camps, but it's a long process.
Yep.
Awesome. All right, so
we're going to move on. What are we doing? We're doing the quote of the week next. So we're on to the quote of the week this week. And Professor, what's your quote of the week?
So my quote of the week goes a little bit with my straight to the point, and this is a little quote from Robert. I don't know how to say his last name correctly. It would be Heinlein. Heinlein is a Robert A. Heinlein. A human being should be able to change a diaper, plan an invasion, butcher a hog, con a ship, design a building, write a sonnet, balance accounts, build a wall, set a bone, comfort the dying, take orders, give orders, cooperate, act alone, solve equations, analyze a new problem, pitch manure, program a computer, cook a tasty meal, fight efficiently, die gallantly. Specialization is for insects. Wow. And I know it's like a broad, it's hard for anybody to have all of that.
It's like totality. What do we say in RMA? Totality promotes reality. And I mean, that is a brilliant quote. That's phenomenal.
Right. And the first one, I was going through a course with Tuham Tom Kyer, from the SIAC Tactical Group, and he brought it up. And I thought that's pretty awesome. And actually, I post this on my Instagram, just very quick parenthesis here, in my personal Instagram. And, in my Instagram, I post things about jiu-jitsu, things. I'm taking my personal life out of it. So I deleted a lot of stuff about, my personal life, dogs and other stuff. So I usually put things about hiking, jiu-jitsu, and of course, the firearms training that I do, the other training. And some people I don't think likes, I understand so many people don't like the firearms. They're against the Second Amendment. That's fine. But I put this quote, and I wrote something about being capable and being well-rounded. Yeah. And in my hashtags, I included, just like regular hashtags, just to try to increase visibility. So I put a firearms, combatives training, because that's the idea, is just to be well-rounded. And some dude got super offended, and he went off me and then saying like how cute it was that I thought that this would have anything to do with Second Amendment. And I'm like, man, I'm just talking about in general, like I respect people that are not into firearms training.
Realize you got to realize there's about 50% of the population that thinks you don't have a right to an opinion. So only that
Yeah, exactly.
other than theirs.
Yeah, and my quote was just like overall, just know a little bit of everything as much as you can. You know, if you I lived by myself at a very early age, like say, and had to learn how to, do my laundry and keep my, working clothes like in perfect condition, and use like an iron to iron my t-shirts and all of that. So,
Yeah.
and learn how to cook a little bit. So
Yep.
just like in general, just
Yep.
be a little bit well-rounded.
Yeah, exactly. I agree 100%. Yeah. And I think that's funny because, like some people think being well-rounded, that if they're a firearms person, they relate it just to that. If they're a self-defense or martial artist, they relate it just to that. But it's like you said, every aspect of life, there's little things every day that everybody has to do. And you shouldn't be dependent on anybody to have to do a certain things, whether, like you said, washing your clothes, washing dishes, whatever the case may be, the simplest thing, cooking a meal, you should be able to do those things, as well. And I love that idea, just the versatility. That to me, that really speaks out to preparedness. It just kind of like, talks to, it's like preparedness and RMA mentality. Like that's a perfect quote. My quote today is from Zig Ziglar, one of my favorite authors growing up. He said, and I want to just say this before I preface this. Anybody out there, sometimes maybe you think you're too old, you're too out of shape, or you're not smart enough, or you don't have the athletic ability, you're not talented enough to do this, to go to school, to get a degree, to become a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, become a black belt in RMA, to get a certain position, leadership position, or a job position. This is a great quote from Zig Ziglar, and it's I think it's motivational. I think to anybody. He says, "You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great." So realize that old martial arts proverb says the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So start. I'll tell you one thing: you're always going to be better off if you start doing something now, studying a certain way, exercising a certain way. You're going to be better off a year from now if you do it, if you start now, than a year from now if you don't start now, and if you don't start. Right. So that's the thing, is you got to start. Don't let anybody tell you can't do it. Don't put those negative, energy vampires, so to speak, into your mind where they tell you can't do it. You got just start. If you start, you're going to be glad you did. And I'll tell you one thing: I've never met anybody that started in martial arts and achieved a black belt who achieved it and then goes, "Oh, I regret that so much. That was the worst thing I ever did." Nobody ever says that. But I've had literally probably hundreds of students who trained with me years ago, and then they see other students that are black belts or higher ranks than them, and they're like, "I would have been where they're at right now if I stuck with it." Yeah, but you got to stick with it. So you got to start and you got to stick with it. So that beyond this starting part, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. You have to start to be great, but you also have to not quit to be great. So if you start, you give it 100%. I've learned in my martial arts career and training, I wouldn't even want to guess how many people I've taught throughout the years, that it's not necessarily the most talented people, which I used to think when I was younger teaching, that I said, this guy's going to be the best. This guy's going to be incredible. It's the person that don't quit that becomes the best. Not the most talented, but the one that don't quit. So start, don't quit. That's my I'm connecting my quote of the week with kind of a principle to kind of parlay to you guys.
Love it. That would be the highlight for sure.
Yes. Well, yeah, it's so important, And so book recommendations of the week. Professor, what do you have for a book?
All right, so mine would be, again, I just want people to expose themselves to different ideas, and this book was it really opened my eyes to some things that I already have some understanding. It's called The Parasitic Mind: How Infectious Ideas Are Killing Common Sense, by I hope I say his name right, Gad Saad. Gad Saad. His book is amazing. He gives amazing examples of how we can be taken over or ideologically possessed, like Jordan Peterson says, or how we easily we can let ourselves be taken over by narratives. So it's pretty much about having common sense, putting some logical, critical thought behind some things that are getting pushed. He's an amazing guy with an amazing life story. He's an immigrant as well, Lebanese, Jewish Lebanese immigrant, and he lives in Canada. And then so he goes over like what is happening in within the academia, like between all these universities and colleges, and how people have been getting also this limitation as far as like the exposure to different ideas and open-mindedness. So the way that some things are getting pushed besides whatever academic subject people are going through and learning, but some of these ideas have been leaking into the curriculum of all these colleges, and pretty much trying to shape people's perception, giving them just like one side of of stories or anything like that. So it's an interesting book. I think again, I read and I already had some thought formulated, and this one helped me to understand more, even the things that I had a feeling or had an opinion without a foundation. The book helped me to understand better what is going on and where we are heading. So, and also related to preparedness or self-defense, or but in some sense, like it's a defense against our own also tendencies. So it's good to get exposed to some challenging reading.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. And my book of the week definitely a little different, but it's going to be Bushcraft 101, a field guide to the art of wilderness and survival by Dave Canterbury. There's lots of guys out there. There's lots of like guys with more extensive military background. Oh, he had like 6 years in the Army and stuff like that. But there's lots of guys out there more extensive military special forces and guys like that's other survival guys. But one thing I'll say with Dave Canterbury, he's just got it so well organized, and he just lives the lifestyle of survival and bushcraft. So I mean, there's nobody out there that this guy couldn't teach something to. Just brilliant stuff. He's got a series of books actually that same, but this is the first one, the Bushcraft 101 Field Guide to the Art of Wilderness and Survival by Dave Canterbury. Good for shelters and firecraft, and he breaks things down. He has what he calls his 10 C's, where he has like he breaks them into categories like you need your cutting tools, you need your combustion device, you need your cover, you need your container, you need your cordage, you need your candling, you need your cotton material, cargo tape, compass, canvas, and I've even expanded on that how I do my preps with other C's that I added to that because I just kind of kept the flow, which helped a lot with me. How I do my preparedness as far as my prepping pantry and my storage area as far as any of my preps are concerned. So it helps a lot in that sense. And, when he says cutting tools, he means, of course, a knife. He means, of course, a saw, things like this. Do you have combustion devices, ways to start a fire and cover? Do you have various forms of shelter, options for shelter and, cordage? That's obviously, cordage ropes and things like that that you're going to use for cordage. Candling means lighting, some sort of lighting device, which could be a flashlight or whatever, but he kind of breaks it down all in those 10 C's and goes way beyond that. But he's got books on traps and snares, wilderness first aid. It's a very good series. He's a real solid guy when it comes to survival. Maybe someday me and Professor Luigi will sneak out to one of his camps together. So I would love to.
Yeah, that's great. And it's great that we bring in books that are so different. You are more technical and more related to what we do. What I'm trying also is to just plant the seed in everybody's head to also look into other things that because I see like preparedness and self-protection, self-defense as they're like the many smaller things we can do. They are more immediate, the things that can happen in a short term, but we also have everything else it's like a cone, right? So we can pinpoint what we need as far as like small little skills and techniques and knowledge to a broad understanding of society, or try to formulate our own beliefs too with a good foundation, with a good base. So I think at the end of the day, all converge to we all becoming a better protectors, because the more we know, the more we can pass along, the more we can help other people but without indoctrinating anybody. It's mostly suggestions, and then let people have their own paths. So I think that's awesome. Yep.
And then we're going to talk a little bit about preparedness principles, which is kind of connect a little bit to what I was talking about with Dave Canterbury's book there, the Bushcraft 101. But as far as the people that are watching, we don't know what level you're at when it comes to preparedness, or even if you do anything regarding preparedness at all. So just to give you some here's just like a simple little bit of advice. First of all, separate your daily items, the stuff you use, the food you're going to use on a regular basis for you and your family to eat on a regular basis, from your prepper pantry. So you may have a personal pantry that's for you, your family, your spouse, kids, whatever the case may be. Your personal pantry that you eat from on a daily basis, and your prepper pantry. This is food you stored away, more long-term, usually a little bit more long-term food storage items. We're going to get into what exactly that means in the future. I'm just going to say that you need to do that. And for the basic person right now, you could think just like, rice and put it in the plastic buckets. And we'll get into exactly what kind of the gamma lids and all those kind of things that I recommend in the future, how to, if you want to seal them in the Mylar bags. We're not talking about that right now, but we can talk about that in the future. But just get some of these items, the canned foods, things like that you got for personal food storage items, your water, not just food and water, your medical kit, medical supplies, your any of the stuff for survival, or anything you need in a go bag, to get out, get out of there. So what I do is one of the simple ways I do it is I take shelves, either metal or plastic shelves. You can put heavy duty ones around the walls in a room or in your cellar, or if you have that much space. This is the best way I like to do it. Buy the plastic bins, and then I'll label the plastic bin. So I have the tape, and then I kind of use, like, similar to Dave Canterbury's concept. I have the food and the water in one area, but then I have, like, say, things for combustion items. That's for that's for fire starting options. I have things for clean water. I added that new C, clean water. That's all my water purification options. So I can if I'm teaching classes or seminars, show them the different types of options you can have for purifying water and methods. And again, we can get into that. That can be a whole section in itself. You can have combat gear, maybe the gear that you would wear if you felt like you had to for protecting yourself. You have like a bin for that. Then you have cutting tools. You have your saws. You have your knives, and I have a whole bin. Even though I have my primary stuff in my go bag and my mobile kit and my go bag and stuff like that, I have my primary stuff. But I also have a bin just full of those types of things, because now I might not only need it, but maybe someone else that's with me or working with me does and doesn't have it. So now I've actually even created a supply of supplies for other people that would be in your community, which is your team, right? The way you kind of function as a team. So I have the bins kind of like stacked all around. Like, you have like clean water, you have combustion items, you have, the cargo tape, that's the C, but that's any kind of tape. So I have all kinds of tape in there, and we can get into that. There's even specific types of tapes that's better for certain type of things. So each thing is kind of labeled around, and I also have an area just for like hunting gear, area just for firearms type equipment. I have a separate, obviously, safe, for the firearms, but then all the different equipment for targets and so on and so forth. Everything's kind of like around those shelves, so I can see everything labeled clearly around. So it's like you go into a store and you know which section is which. So that's one of the things I recommend do. Get your plastic bins, get your wall shelves. Go through a lot of the topics of survival that we talked about in past lessons, which cover all the primary areas. Obviously, you need water, you need food, you need shelter. And I have an area where I have the tents, and I have cooking, another thing for just cooking equipment in those bins. So you have like cooking. I have stuff in my go bag that if I had to just go, boom, I already got in there, and I've got cooking. But I've got other stuff that if I need it or I need it for a group of people, that I would have that. So I kind of have it all laid out, and you can see it very clearly as you look around on each shelf, going like, both vertically and horizontally. So get your wall shelves, get your plastic bins, get yourself some tape or labels and put them on there, mark them clearly, and start adding items. What I find is, like, under combustion items, even though I have a number of different fire starting options beyond just what's in my go bag, every so often, if I'm at a store, I'll buy a bunch of lighters, throw the lighters in the combustion thing. I'll buy, some matches. I put them in a plastic Ziploc bag, put them in and they're all in that plastic bin all the time. And then if all of a sudden I would say candling items, like your flashlights and different lamps, or I get maybe I'll buy an extra, solar flashlight or different kind of flashlight, put it in that. So now that bin's just full of flashlights, and you got like a different area for like the little battery caddy, whatever they call it, those things that you fill with batteries. I got those, and I fill those with batteries. So everything's ready to go, so you just kind of come up with a system like that. I'm just kind of whetting your appetite. We're really not going into depth yet, but it's a simple way to do it. Now, you may live in a smaller place where you don't have an extra room, you don't have a cellar, things like that. Now that can be a little tricky, but you start to be creative. Maybe you have a storage area. Maybe you have some space under your bed. Maybe there's a spot up in the upper part of your closet or under your couch. There's different ways you can get these thinner plastic bins and find areas in your house where, you know what, I could put some cans here, food here, I could store water here. And obviously you want the appearance of your house to look, most people want to look nice and decent, and not, crazy or something, especially if you're married, you may have to make those adjustments. So find a place that's not going to stand out. No one's going to necessarily notice it, but you have access to it, and then also always have your go bag, which is a bag that you could just grab and go, boom. And I always like to have a mobile kit too, which has those similar type of items, plus items that I would need in my car if the car breaks down, or for any of the kind of things relevant to preparedness when it comes to your vehicle as well. And so as well as having like AAA and so on and so forth. So it's just kind of a basic concept of how to get yourself a little organized. Your personal day-to-day items, your preps in your home, your go bag, your mobile preps. Kind of get those things in place first, and then in the future, when we start talking about this, you can start to fine tune each one of those kits and each one of those things that you do regarding personal preparedness, or awesome. Interpersonal, I should say.
Yeah, and I think it would be interesting to go through a little bit of your system, maybe in person one day, and record that for our viewers. And if you're listening to this and through Spotify or Apple podcasts or Google Podcasts, if you're just listening, you can always go to YouTube. You type Core Combatives, you're going to find us, and then you can see whenever we launch an episode like that in person, demonstrating techniques or demonstrating this kind of topics like preparedness. It would be great if you guys just could take a watch and subscribe and like, our YouTube channel as well.
Yeah, for RMA principles this week, it's a little different. I'm going to kind of diverge a little bit from the regular principles that are in our RMA instructor manual, and I'm going to kind of just talk about a little something that I think is really important. And the concept today is life is a drill, right? Think about life. There's certain things you deal with every single day that if you look at them as problems, if you look at them as struggles, if you look at them as difficult people, they can sometimes really get on your nerves and really bother you. But if you look at them as a drill, you can sometimes makes it a little easier to manage. So for example, if you have a difficult person at work or a difficult person somewhere you go that just really gets under your nerves and really gets on your nerves and really kind of just makes you want to not act the way you should act, look at them as a drill versus as an annoying person. So someone that gives you an opportunity to maintain control, keep your composure, stay calm, So if we look at life as like a psychological, emotional conditioning drill, right, to develop, where we're going to develop valuable attributes for real world confrontation and confrontation management, it kind of makes a situation that's usually really annoying sort of fun. So when you're but this deals with anything. I always tell people, look, you're not going to keep your cool in a fight if someone's calling you some derogatory thing about your race, your religion, your this, that, the other thing. If you can't even keep your cool when your kid spills a glass of milk, if you're flipping out when your kid spills a glass of milk, you need to work on your psychological, emotional control and composure, right? If someone just breaks something and then you lose it and you're flipping out, it's like you're not going to keep your cool when someone's in your face trying to threaten you and embarrass you in front of your friends and family and close loved ones. So develop muscles in those small things, those small situations, to learn composure. Control your words, what you say. Think. Take a second before you speak. Think what you're going to say, and not just the repercussions that can have. Control your tone, control your facial expressions, control your body language. The Bible says, be quick to listen, quick to hear, and slow to speak. A lot of times we're quick to speak and slow to listen. I love a saying that Stephen Covey has. He says, seek first to understand, then to be understood. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. So once you understand a person, the good thing is you get the depth of their knowledge and what they know, how deep. Maybe it's not very, maybe it's just surface level. They make it seem like it's really deep, but it's just surface level. But then you go down a few layers. Okay, well, anything else you want to say? Anything else? Now you understand what they're talking about, and then you can kind of address the situation. Then you can seek to be understood. Is there anything else that you want to tell me? Anything else I need to understand? See, you're seeking to understand first. Say, okay, now can I give you my input on this? Would you? And then you're helping them to understand, how you would respond to that, what your opinions or feelings are. So my focus this week would be for RMA principles is use life as a drill. difficult people, difficult situations. Some of us, like, I don't like when people, like, drive crazy when especially if I have my the kids in the car, my nephew and my niece in the car, and someone's driving foolishly. It does really get on my nerves. But what good is it gonna do? I can't control how they're driving. I can't get in their car, and so you keep your cool, stay calm. Maybe just pull over to the side, let them go by. Little things like that. Joe Lewis, my coach and one of my most senior mentors, so I always say, whoever angers you conquers you. So just learning to control your emotions, control your words, control your tones, control your facial expressions, control your body language, be calm, be cool. That's going to help you in a lot of situations. It could be, what if you're dealing with someone, a medical emergency, if someone's really hurt? What if it's a fight situation? What if it's any type of a high stress situation? If you've learned to develop those muscles in the smaller things, that's going to kind of transfer and kind of like help in developing you towards the bigger things. Once you develop those smaller muscles, you can develop those medium muscles and the bigger muscles and bigger muscles. But again, we have to start with that foundation. And this is really like the foundation for emotional control and discipline and calmness under a high stress situation. So that's my RMA principle of the week, a little diverging from the normal fight principles. I think we're going to do tactical checklists next time, but this time is life as a drill. So that's what I want to talk
about. I love it because, like you said, it's part of a training. It's part of embracing this lifestyle, because you do it. I was even talking to someone, like, for instance, it could be just as another example of an exercise that you can do every day. You are at some place and you're just trying to be more aware of your surroundings and the people around you, the strangers, and maybe you do some mental scans. You look at some guy, see if he's like printing anything, around his waist. So, maybe, that guy's carrying a firearm. Not that, it's just like, it's not to be creepy. It's not to be a stalker. You're just sitting at Starbucks, let's say, and then you're just watching how people, this is something that I've been paying more attention. It's how many people they walk inside a store, or while they're in the store, or everywhere, they're just like keeping their head down on the phone the whole time without any situational awareness. It's not that you want to be paranoid, nothing like this, but I was doing some exercise as far as like hyper focusing, just in what I'm reading and how, and I was kind of like doing my own things, like like you're saying, I'm sitting in some place and I was like reading my phone and trying to see if I could read and use my peripheral vision to be aware if somebody would come next to me. And it's really hard when you're really focusing, not just like looking at pictures, but reading,
Sure, yeah.
So those kind of small exercises. And I just want to give one quick example, because I was going to mention, I think like when you're driving is a great way to exercise patience.
Yeah.
I drive a little fast, not that I'm, break laws or anything, but it's just, but one thing I make sure that I never argue with anybody in traffic. I never open a window. If people cut me off, I'm not going to do any gesture that, going to get me in trouble. I'm not going to yell at the person. I don't even like use my honk too much, like, kind of things like that. If people pass me, they cut me, it's whatever, because you never know, who you're dealing with.
Right.
And just very quick, a great example, somebody from, our school, in our community, and he made me really proud. He's, guy my age, but professional guy. And he was driving, going home, and he didn't realize he wasn't going fast. I guess he didn't realize that maybe he cut the guy off. I mean, he doesn't even know what he did. But long story short, as he's pulling over in front of his driveway, this guy followed him, and then he realized he's getting followed. The guy parked right next to him, opened the door, started yelling at him and being very aggressive. So our guy gets out of the car. He's a big guy, strong guy, little like physically strong. But he recorded, because of course this is for his own liability. He was calm, he was composed. He was like, "Hey buddy, what happened? What's going on? I don't know why you're yelling at me." And as he's going towards the passenger side to talk to the guy, because the guy opened the passenger window, he sees that the guy has a firearm laying on his lap. And so he goes like, what's up with the firearm? Like, you brandishing. And this guy's trying to say that he knew the law, he's carrying, which is not true, because to be considered as a concealed carry or open carry, the firearm, the holster has to be on you. If you're just like, even if you're inside your car and, in that situation, you're just laying, I guess. And this is a lawyer, actually, that was explaining to me. I might be wrong. If I'm wrong, just put in the comments. This guy had the firearm laying on his lap, right? I don't remember if it was holster or not. But in that case, it would not be considered as, the guy's legally carrying. So it's kind of more brandishing the firearm. So our guy kind of like control the situation. He carries too. So that could be like a problem, right? This could turn into a major problem. And he's like, hey, man, I don't know what's your problem. I didn't see it. If I cut you off, I apologize. He wasn't afraid of the firearm. Tactically speaking, our guy would have the advantage because he was standing, he was outside the vehicle. He could easily take cover. He could easily go behind his car. He could draw his firearm, but he did nothing like that. So he talked to the guy. He managed to de-escalate. The guy ended up apologizing. And I think that was the most correct response, because number one is, if he started something like escalating the situation, that guy now knows where he lives, right? Know where our guy lives, because he was parked right in front of him. So that's that thing. Second is, legally speaking, like you always said, a self-defense confrontation never ends when it ends. It ends like in court after many, many years. I think I remember you saying that. And that's another factor. Imagine like how much, trouble or, the burden of having to go through a legal, even if you had the right to defend yourself. I mean, long story short, he exercised patience. He exercised, I think he had a good wisdom in how he de-escalated the situation, used nice words. He didn't show any physical, through, body language, any aggressiveness. He was just calm, composed. He was carrying his firearm. I know he trains a lot. He was ready. And actually, this can be a good gateway for the news of the week, I guess, right? That's a new thing. It kind of goes along with what is coming next. But again, great exercise. We call free training, because a lot of people think that training is always like fighting, shooting, stabbing. Is not that.
And like I said, that life is a drill. It definitely goes way beyond just the emotional control. Like I was talking about, I was more relating that to just situations. Like for example, even when someone drive like beeps or flies around you, and they do you have to look at that person? Because usually when I look at them, if I look at them, I can look at them. Now you can look at them and give them a hard look, and you give them that crazy look, and then then you kind of spark, or that little stimulus, that little spark that starts that big fire. Well, if they're driving by in my peripheral vision, I can still see them in case there was any kind of firearm, presented where I have to hit the brakes and let them go by, or do whatever I have to do, any kind of tactical maneuver there. But I can still kind of see what's going on. But if I look at an angle, and you still see them a little bit more. But if you look right at them, sometimes that creates that spark that starts fire. Or if you look at them and give them a hard look, or you go, what? You got any little thing like that you do that's going to prompt that person. And that's usually all, like I said, out of fear, right? We're worried what they think, what the people that are with us, that are with us would think, but we're not thinking about getting in the fight, getting arrested, going to jail, going to court, maybe getting shot, all these different things that can happen just because of our ego. It's all about ego. In jiu-jitsu, we're always big at saying, leave your ego at the door, right? When you're going on the mats. But a lot of times people put it back on when they go out into the real world. Well, why don't you just leave your ego, if you're going to leave it at the door when you come in, and leave it at the door when you come out. Because sometimes we think, even it's true, right? You have to say, a lot of times I think nowadays one of the biggest misconceptions with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is it's the end all for everything in the real world. It's like, it's one of the best martial arts. No, we would both agree with that. One of the best martial arts on earth, but it's not everything. No, nothing
No.
is everything. And it comes down even the psychology that we talk about. Like, don't be a show off. Don't be a bragger. Don't put people down. Don't look like there's this one guy, he's a meatball that goes around like to different schools trying to like say he wants to own the gyms and fight the school owners. I don't know if you've seen this guy. What a goofball. But I mean, how disrespectful is that? I mean, it's like everything's out the window when it comes to respect. I could see if you're doing it from the perspective that you just want to challenge yourself and you didn't have to make a video about it. But when you're doing it for that, clearly there's an ulterior motive, and you're a bit of forgotten all the elements of Bushido and respect and things like that. And you're basically training people into that mindset of being a troublemaker. Do that in the real world, you go to jail. You know what I mean? You just go around, just why don't you make shoot videos, go around just pick and fight with random people. Cops will arrest you, you'll go to jail, and you'll be done for a long time. So it's not the best way to so I think that's
I watched yesterday too. It was a road rage. Like I said, that already passed that point. So, for instance, I don't know. We don't know exactly how it happened, but long story short, was like this back and forth, almost same situation. Another guy followed this couple, but the end of the story, the summary is that the wife of the guy that was getting confronted by a road, rage, dude, she was ultra aggressive, and actually the guy that kind of like chased the couple, he pulled a firearm, and now the husband or boyfriend was trying to de-escalate because now he had no firearm, this guy had a firearm, which is terrible that the guy pulled a firearm,
right?
But long story short is now the wife, instead of like helping to de-escalate the situation, she made it much worse, which it could end in a terrible way. But I totally get it. Like it could be a basic thing. Somebody cut the line, and why are you gonna start like a big argue with it? Like just
right. Well, and that's why I worry about those kind of people that have that mentality on YouTube. And it's not even really a personal disrespect to them. Like some of them can be good martial artists, even have a decent level of talent, but don't go around teaching other martial artists to be bullies, to be instigators, because you might get away with that in a dojo or in a martial arts academy, but you're not going to get away with that in the street. Something bad's going to happen. You're going to get your loved ones killed, get yourself killed, go to jail, get arrested, get sued. I mean, all these things, and they're forgetting that, but then they sort of promote it like it's really cool to do this. And then there's so many younger martial artists that see that, and then you could see that is having somewhat of an impact on martial arts nowadays. That's why I always call what we do reality martial arts, because we teach the reality side of combatives, but we also want the respect, the honor, the integrity of the Bushido. So when I'm critiquing, I'm not even critiquing that person. I'm critiquing what they're doing. That, in other words, the example you're setting and the impact that has on other people that are in the martial arts, and it kind of like takes them so far away of that aspect that we teach in the like Bushido for life, kind of like what we think in the core of respect, integrity, honor, discipline, those kind of things, that you loyalty. You want to have these qualities in a person that's learning martial arts. Otherwise, you're just making like a Frankenstein. So if a person's tough, but they're kind of like mindless and dumb and just go around hurting everybody, it's like Frankenstein. No, Frankenstein had the strength of what is supposed to have 1,000 men or something. So you're not going to beat him in a jiu-jitsu tournament, right? But he just go around killing everybody, kill kids, kill people. We don't want to make those kind of jiu-jitsu practitioners. We want to make responsible, decent human beings that are dangerous, that can fight, but only use it if they have no other choice. And again, I think that, I hope that that's one thing our channel gets across, that some channels that don't have that attitude are, and there's other channels like us too that have the right respect and right attitude. There's definitely lots of them out there too. So
it's like I always tell the kids when I'm teaching the kids class, like a Spider-Man quote, right? When Peter Parker's
big responsibility, or great power comes great responsibility.
Great responsibility. It is true.
Yeah.
People think that we just want to be this tough guys. Actually, it's not. We just want to protect our families and protect our lives. So protect. We're not saying we are the ones initiating and attacking ever.
Right.
It's for me, it's such an act of cowardice. Like only cowards will use what we know in unprovoked situations against people that don't know what we know. Right. So it's not fair. It's almost like for us, as a martial artist that understands striking, grappling, and even like, with no weapons, it is like having a weapon. If you're ever fighting people that don't know anything, and we understand that there are all this, especially males with all this bravado, they don't train anything. They just want to start a fight. They're drunk. This, all those situations. Like I said, I went through that with Sylvia during COVID in a parking lot over nothing, literally, absolutely nothing. It was like me parking my car. This guy 2 cars over on the passenger seat thought that I had parked too close to a car that didn't belong to him. But again, this guy he was over aggressive. He was really trying to shorten distance and come towards me. And I mean, I know jiu-jitsu, I know striking, I know grappling, I know wrestling, I know judo. I mean, what am I going to do with a guy like that? I just got in my car. I'm like, hey, man, I don't know why you're having a bad day, but I'm going my way. And then I got in the car and just left. It's just like,
which is mature. That's real maturity. To me, that's martial arts maturity. And the guy, he had a good day too, because you decide to do something other than drive away,
But it's just such a, fighting, it's not enjoyable. Right. Competing is one thing. But competing is not fighting. Right. Exactly. We grapple in a tournament. We strike in a boxing match. We're not fighting.
Right. Exactly.
Even MMA, while we say it's a fight. But like you say, there's so many things that we cannot do in MMA. So you cannot really consider as a fight.
And we've discussed this before, Professor, but you look like Alex Gong. I know there's actually one well-known mixed martial artist has a YouTube channel too, and he was just talking about kind of in a sense, sort of putting down the reality side of things and saying like, well, why would you do this and this, like calling them dirty fighting. But the truth is, you really shouldn't be doing anything. You shouldn't be punching someone in the face for no reason, without a good reason. You shouldn't be elbowing someone or kneeing someone or choking them. You shouldn't do anything to them physically to harm them without a good reason, right? But if you look at like Alex Gong, world-class kickboxer, Joe Louis, my coach, just thought the world of him, how talented a kid he was, gets shot and killed by some nobody that I guess hit his car, and I think he ran down to kind of like, we're talking, and the guy just pulls a gun and shoots him.
Yeah, I think I remember.
Leandro Lowe, same thing. I mean, Leandro Lowe's like one of the best ever. Some guy just pulled one pull of the finger, one movement of the finger. That's so simple. Movement ends the life of a legendary competitor, and that can happen to anybody. In martial arts, we know there's even mixed martial artists that have had similar things happen. So, that's why people got to learn that you're not as invincible as you think. I had one college professor was talking about a story where when he was a kid, a window broke and just one little couple shards went in his hands and one were right into his neck. And he started bleeding out. I believe it probably was carotid. And the guy had to his father put the thumb in and got him to the hospital. And the father said, had it happened at the neighbor's house, he would have been dead. Now he's an older guy. Now he's well into his 60s, but this happened when he was a kid. And it just shows you how fragile life is. One little shot there, like you were talking about the guy with the knife. The doctor said if you hadn't blocked that right away and got him here that quick, he wouldn't have made it if he had went from the neighbor's house to your house, if it happened one house over. So we're very fragile. We like to think we're tough, but it doesn't take much. A little something in the eye, you're blind. A little something in the throat, you're dead. And people's ego got to make them think they're Superman. They watch all these Marvel and DC movies, think that's them. It's not you. I like Superman. I'm a big fan. I even collect a lot of that type of stuff, but we're not that. It's cool to strive to be the most like powerful, strong, protected person you can be, so that it's harder for someone to do that stuff to us than anyone else. But you still got to realize you have limitations, and that ego can really cost you a lot if you don't keep it in check,
Yeah, and so I'm gonna share this screen with you guys because Shihan sent me, and I think it's a great thing. We're gonna try to bring the news of the week, right?
Is this the news or is this the video of the week?
Actually, this is the news video. Okay. I can play the video, and I guess I understand why we're getting this from Fox News, but don't think like we are Fox News fanatics, anything like that.
Just
things that, it's like news is news. If it depends how, of course, we have to have our own filters, but this is an interesting. I would like to make a parenthesis about this. So, in this Fox News article, the reporter here She says like handgun owners carrying daily in U.S. doubled in 4 years. Self-protection cited as main reason. Study. So there's a study where they show that more people
Yep.
start carrying, and the number of respondents to the online survey who said that they had carried again the last month also nearly doubled from 9 million to 16 million in 2015. Now, I believe that this number, because this study is kind of like not older, but say from a couple of years back, and I think this number even increased way more. And they linked with this, I guess, like the video that they posted. I don't know why. Well, there's some relation saying North Carolina football team flees field after gunshots reported. I just kind of like it's in a context, but at the same time, I don't know exactly. It's up to interpretation. It could be a bad person in a football game, or are they trying to say it was a good person, not good person, but say somebody that is carrying that is firing for whatever reason. But it's interesting to see that, especially after COVID 2020. And I have experienced that because I'm an FFL, so I sell firearms, and I experienced the situation where I had people trying to buy a firearm, but I could not go through the state, the NICS process to get the approval because of the number of calls. So the people picking up the calls, the Connecticut State Police, they were overwhelmed with the number of people buying and stores selling firearms. And then of course we saw in 2020 with the summer of love, all the riots, the burning, the looting and everything, people getting more concerned about the rise in violence, the numbers, and especially we see this mostly in specific states that had adopted a different approach to bail, with the bail reform, the prison reform, and etc. But long story short, people have been experiencing a rise in criminality and violence, and I think that's one of the reasons why they have been getting more worried about the self-protection. The video, let me see if
we still doing the video of the week too, or
so
are you doing
the video of the week?
I'm
going to bring it up too because
okay.
This is interesting. But we can, as we are trying to follow. So this is the article here. I just would like to also bring one more thing, which is the fact that I hope whoever is getting the mindset of buying a firearm, I hope that you guys, whoever's listening to this, have been also training. Self-protection is not just to go through a basic NRA course and getting a certificate, applying, getting your permit if you're in a place that requires a permit, or even worse, like if you go to a constitutional carry state, people sometimes don't even need to, I guess, like in some cases, like the permit process is different. They don't even need to get a full, course, let's say. But they buy the firearms, and then they never shoot that firearm, or they don't even try different firearms. And what they go for is to just put in a safe and thinking like the day that they need, they're just going to pull that. And so I think
it's not just having stuff and knowing stuff. You have to do it too. You have to do it too.
And it's not just the technical part of carrying a firearm, or it's not just that. It's, for instance, I went through last week a force on force training with MTAC shooting, Bill Rapier, and I went back home with more questions than I mean, of course, the course was great, but questions for myself, kind of reaction, and it was great because Bill Rapier, he runs shoot, don't shoot scenarios. Like many times, you want to use your verbal negotiation skills. You want to in many scenarios. So I really recommend people to look for that type of training because that helps immensely.
Definitely.
All right, so for the video of the week, Shihan sent me this compilation here. I will tell you where we got from on Twitter, and I'll post here the account. Shout out to Elon Musk.
Yep,
Elon
please
Musk,
support us. You can sponsor our channel.
Because this was actually a reply from. I mean, he got many replies from a tweet that he sent, and so this is one of the replies, and I think it has to do with can we trust the media? So take a look or listen to this one here.
Hi, I'm Fox San Antonio's Jessica Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our Treasure Valley communities,
The El Paso, Las Cruces communities, Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But
we are concerned about trouble and trending irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these things simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 Wow, right? So I hope people
thank you,
make
Big
that.
Brother. Not you, but this message is presented by Big Brother.
We when we talk about Marxism, when Stalin he learned how to build the propaganda machine, right? So because in the Soviet Union everything was a lie. But he needed to convince the people that his lies were, the truth. So he built the propaganda machine. So nobody is better than Marxists, of some people with that political ideology that because Marxism is not actually, it's deeper than that. But then after that, Hitler did the same. Yeah. Right. So who controls information? Who controls the media? And when you see what is most alarming is you're not seeing just, for instance, Fox News from different cities and states. You're not seeing just ABC from different cities and states. You're looking at many different media outlets that pretty much owned or have the same investors across the board, repeating the same thing. So one person wrote that and distributed to all the channels, either those that lean more conservative and those that lean more liberal. It doesn't matter. All of them repeated the same message. And when it comes to fact checkers, I'm going to give just my quick recommendation here. It's like, I would say, if you Google things, doesn't mean anything. You're still getting manipulated by Google. And all the other browsers, like you look at Bing, Yahoo, most of these other browsers use Google as, their source. So regardless of the interface you see from Yahoo or Bing or whatever other web searcher, internally, the information is coming from Google. Now, you have some other companies. It seems that even DuckDuckGo, I was reading something about DuckDuckGo not being that so reliable as far as like how independent the information is from Google. But if you download Brave, the browser Brave, browser has been building its own database, crawling, all websites and all of that. So I've been doing a lot of research where I go to Google and I go to Brave, searching for the same keywords, and many times I get websites under Brave that I wouldn't get under Google. And that's how they filter, how they push back to the 20th page, because nobody really browses through, the first 5 pages, or sometimes not even through the first 2 or 3. So they push some information that could be relevant to you all the way down in the list, so you don't even have the willingness to go check. But Brave has been more unbiased, let's say. So just watch out, because who controls the information controls the narrative, controls the future, And
I gotta say a shout out to whoever made that video. I don't know if that was it says AMC 2 Moon or whatever, but and let me see, it's
at AMC _
he's replying to Elon Musk. But man, we got to check out and see if we can find more videos, because that was really well put together and just really showed the indoctrination kind of process. It just like open book. Like, here it is. This is what they're doing. Clear as day. No argument.
And then it's true. It's just like people just need to. We go back to that, essay, be brave. I mean, you see the fact checkers, and many times fact checkers were wrong. If you look at USA Today, they end up removing a bunch of, I forgot how many, it was 72, or it was a big number of fact checking, articles that they had published. They had to remove it because they got fact checked. So this whole fact check is a way to destimulate people from doing their own research. You look at, and I'm not going to even look into that, but you should always, especially when it says missing context. When you look at what's happening with that cryptocurrency, like that company, I forgot the name, FTC or so, it's pretty clear. The timeline is pretty clear, and already proven everything that happened. But somebody shared that with me on Facebook, but it had a lot of missing context. There's no missing context. It's just like they want to do in a way, even the use of the word conspiracy theory was created to discredit people. So, and you look how many people were right, especially when it comes to the 2020 pandemic. I'm not going to go through everything, otherwise YouTube going to flag us. But do your own research and look how many things that they said and as absolute truth, how it shifted, how it changed, and even like some agencies changed the way that they approach some things. And I'm not saying that.
Recommend, Professor, I usually recommend to people, if you want the real news, just watch JP Sears. And,
he's good.
News. And he won't get flagged because of how he says it. If you understand tongue in cheek, you'll get the real news with JP Sears.
Look, I give JP Sears such a huge credit, and because I liked him before, and
he's come around though with his thinking even more. You see he's doing what you're doing. He's doing that research beyond just the conventional resources.
You know what I respect JP Sears. Number one, he was always super funny. I used to watch his videos. And there's some things I disagree when he did the first one about firearms and guns.
And he did a whole video saying he changed his whole view on that too.
Yeah, and again, it's not because he jumped to our side, let's say, nothing like this. It's just because
makes sense.
He was brave enough to challenge his own thoughts. And same thing, like when I got to the United States, I was against firearms. and coming from a socialist country, because I didn't know better, but then I understood the what was behind the Second Amendment and why it was created. And now I see, because it just again, pattern recognition. You see all
that's my main source of news is JP Sears. That's where I get most of my news.
I love it. And
JP, if you're watching, we know you probably love our show. You or Elon Musk, either of you would love to have you on and interview you guys. So just contact us anytime. It would be the biggest honor of your careers.
One day we get there. One day because look, normal people like us are the people that they reach, right? The normal people that just want normalcy, people that just want common sense, want to have a good laugh, right? And can entertain different thoughts, can change our we can change our minds if you think that is the most
if you
correct,
convince us,
you know.
we're not going to be just
No, but JP series, Silva and I, we watch all the time. And again, I
how smart that guy, how smart he must be though, the way he thinks those things through and presents it and says it, and you can't, they're not going to flag him nothing, but it's just, I mean, his intellect, his IQ must be through the roof.
Exactly. I think if somebody to develop that, first of all, to manage to get something so serious,
it makes it so funny.
And then when he's like the reporter dressed up like a
all
hobo, like, you know, like,
or when they pretend the camera goes off and he starts saying that, you know, it's just so funny
how he can get real serious things and speak the truth and still make people laugh. You know, with the, you know, so it's awesome. I think we're gonna do
this week. Elon Musk and AMC 2 Moon won the Core Combatives video of the week. Who knows, JP Sears? Maybe you'll get that honor one of these weeks too.
Yeah, we should, and I think we can share some of the stuff without YouTube taking us for copyright infringement. But it's not our goal. Our goal is just to share. What make us like feel good and you know, like the Babylon Bee, or you get this, like,
so smart.
The Babylon Bee, they are prophets, like, because they have been saying some stuff that came true. I mean, I'm you know, it's a joke, but
I really like Babylon Bee too.
Or even if you watch The Simpsons. Like the old stuff from Simpson, I'm like, oh my God! It's just like,
how did they say that then?
It's just how
is that really coincidence? I don't know. That's just kind of
There's one about the pen. I'm gonna bring the next one. The next one I know. I'm even gonna write it down here. It's one Simpsons episode about what is the next. So the world's leaders get together and they are planning the next crisis, and somebody shows up like, what about a virus that, you know? You know, and then some guy, I already have that. You know, and so the guy opened the box and he tested in one journalist, and the guy just, you know, I'm not saying anything against anything, but any science, it's just comedy. But so we go back to the BJJ Daily Dosing on the next episode because we're already past the 1 hour and 15 minutes. So stay tuned. In a couple weeks, we're gonna bring Troy. Shihan is bringing Troy Dorsey. He's like a legend in boxing, kickboxing.
He's a former world champion kickboxer, and also one of the only person to ever win a world championship in kickboxing, and then go on to be the IBF and IBO world champion in boxing as well. Fought greats like Oscar De La Hoya, Gabriel Willis, all these different great legends of boxing. He's just a phenomenal human being, great fighter. Also a BJJ black belt under Travis Luter, which is an amazing
That's awesome.
accomplishment to achieve that later in life after all he's done in kickboxing and boxing, and then get your black belt in BJJ. It's pretty impressive credentials. Just an amazing man. But it's going to be great. You know?
So episode 8 will be a whole conversation with Troy. We're going to pick his mind. We're going to talk about, it's going to be great because I have questions as far as like how he prepared for competition, see the common things that we can, link with the BJJ Daily Dosing that Shihan Walt wrote. And don't forget, December 17th, I think it's 10 a.m. at our school, American Top Team Connecticut. We're going to have the Grappling for the Streets, standing and ground grappling for the streets with Shihan Walt at American Top Team Connecticut. We're doing for super affordable price. This is the first of a annual. We want to have Shihan every year to do this part of jiu-jitsu that we don't cover every day, because we teach jiu-jitsu for competitions, a hobby, and as a tool for MMA. But every year the plan is to have Shihan Walt running a BJJ for the streets or grappling for the streets program. And this is open for everybody. You don't need to have any previous experience. Of course, if you have, we're gonna help. And it's something that you can bring your wife, you can bring your kids, you can bring your family. if you are already a member, you're more than welcome to bring your boyfriend, your girlfriend, anybody you want, because then you can work as a team. Everybody's on the same page. Something happens. It could be something so subtle, such as you knowing how to stop somebody standing with a good Greco-Roman technique, just like just to stop a situation safely, not hitting anybody, not hurting anybody. But if you needed to engage and hold and just like make somebody calm down, or, it could be something like that, to a more extreme where you really need to pin, control. Extremely beneficial for police officers, because Shihan talks a lot about control, talks a lot about position, what is more tactically appropriated for each situation. So December 17th at American Top Team Connecticut, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And we probably going to run also a food drive. Every year we run. This year we had one. I like to have two, especially in the winter time with more, homeless population growing. We know a soup kitchen in town. They do a great job of volunteers, like, cooking nice meals for poor people. So that's the place where we always donate. Dorothy Day in Danbury, Dorothy Day Hospitality House in Danbury. That's where we donate. But anyway, hope to see you guys there at American Top Team Connecticut, December 17th, 10 a.m. with Shihan Walt. Anything else, Shihan?
I just want to say I'm really enjoying this format, and I hope that any of our listeners, we're always going to have some people that have different political views and beliefs and so on and so forth. Like Professor Luigi said, just, consider and contemplate what we said, look for different resources when it comes to researching information. Realize that we're speaking from our heart. We're not trying to be mean or cruel or hateful toward you. In fact, that's probably really the opposite. We're actually caring for you by us giving you what we believe is the right information and the truth. It's us caring for you, not hurting you. Even if you disagree with us, we're actually trying to help you. So it's not done from a hateful motive. It's not done out of anger, hate, or revenge or any of this kind of thing. It's because we believe what we say. We really care about martial arts because we want to see people be more safe, be able to protect themselves, their loved ones, and their family. We want to see people be prepared because if anything bad ever happens, any kind of big serious emergency or something, we want to make sure you're safe and your family's safe and your community is safe. And we want to make sure that when it comes to, the things that we need to govern our country and our lives and everything around us is done in a way that's going to be most beneficial to everybody else. So we're legitimately doing it from a position of caring and not just having to be right. I love that saying that says people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So just know this. We may disagree with you sometimes, or you may disagree with us, but we do care. So I hope that you can at least take that in consideration and consider our viewpoints, and maybe it'll help you. So that's our goal.
Absolutely.
Here.
So I'll see you guys on the next episode 8 with Troy Dorsey. And don't forget to share, like, subscribe, send us your thoughts, and we'll be happy to answer.
Take it easy, guys. Awesome.
Thank you.
Great episode.